thank everybody for coming out. Since the last time we met, we've had 2 games. We had a road trip to New Orleans, a nice mid-conference break for our student athletes, a chance to experience some culture of the city, and had a nice trip. Ended up with a good, solid victory. Led in scoring by Erica Sisk, out-rebounded a New Orleans team that plays extremely hard by 15. That was the key to the game. Got off to a really hot start, up by 23 early in the game, and then I probably substituted a little too early, and we lost some energy level as we subbed, and we ended up having to battle and win a game by double digits, but it was a fight. I think it was good for our team. Then we come back, and a really disappointing loss last night to Tennessee State in our first conference action in a while. Just you got to give Tennessee State a lot of credit. Played extremely hard, did a great job defensively. Erica Sisk led us in scoring with a career-high 29. Really did a nice job. Was very efficient offensively last night. Her most efficient offensive game since she's been here, and she's had some pretty good games. And Kelsey Dirks played well with 12 points and 9 rebounds. And but the story of the game was we gave up some offensive rebounds late. We played poor transition defense late, gave up some open threes in transition to an outstanding shooter that they have in Kesey Hess. And there was a run at the end of the game. It was a game of runs, and the final run went to them. And we had a chance at the end, but just couldn't quite get over the hump. And we just struggled shooting the ball. I think Mariah was 1 for 12, and Jessica Winfrey was 0 for 5. And that's 2 of your better players going a combined 1 for 17. And even though we battled, we just didn't have enough to overcome it.
Questions? How do you feel your team's coming along at this point in the season?
Well, again, last night, I didn't think we played poorly. Tennessee State played well, and after watching the film, we made some mistakes in transition defense that are uncharacteristic of what we've been the last couple of weeks. And, they took advantage of that. I was disappointed in the rebounding on the defensive end the last 10 minutes of the ball game. But it wasn't a lack of effort. It's just, sometimes those things happen. I think we're still in a position. I think there are probably, 6 teams in this conference that can win the conference tournament, and I think we're one of those teams. So, we feel pretty good about that. We've got a rough road coming up, very, very tough road trip at Eastern Illinois and SIUE, and 2 teams we defeated earlier here, so they're going to be focused on us. And then a tough game with UT Martin coming in here. So we've got 3 very tough games in a row before we finish up the season.
Coach, you talked about you think there's about 6 teams that could legitimately win the conference tournament. Do you think the conference is more balanced this year than it has been?
Oh, there's no question. It's always a conference where anybody can beat anybody on a given day, but the depth of the conference is much better this year than it has been the past several years. I think some of that is due to people having older players. You look at Butler and Newsom from UT Martin, they're juniors, and over the last several years we've had young teams throughout the league. And I think right now you're looking at senior-laden teams, Eastern Kentucky, Eastern Illinois, SIUE, Belmont, UT Martin. They have a lot of upperclassmen making plays. Tennessee Tech the same way. So, I think that's a major factor in the depth of the conference.
Talk about, first of all, the Edwardsville trip and what you expect to see out of it.
Well, we go to Eastern Illinois on Saturday, and they're in first place in the conference right now. With 2 losses, one of those being to us here in Murray. Great point guard play out of Takenya Nixon. She's in there running for Conference Player of the Year right now. One of the best post players in the league, and Mariah King. Great shooters and good athletes to surround those 2. So we'll certainly have our hands full. SIUE, very physical team, great rebounding team. So it's going to be a tough trip. We're going to have to be focused. We're going to have to execute well offensively, and the reality is we're going to have to rebound with those 2 teams, and we're going to have to make some shots.
East Illinois, they win that one, they're really been the driver's seat.
They're in great position for one of those top 2 seeds. There's no question about that. So, you know, I think at this time of year in any league, no game is a gimme. You know, I don't think there's a team in our league that couldn't win any of the remaining games on their schedule. So, you know, but I think that's across the board in the country. I just think it's tough to win games at this time of year.
How much does fatigue play a part at this point of the year?
Yeah, everybody's dealing with the same thing, so I don't think it plays much of a factor. Obviously, you know, you can be a little more banged up than other teams from an injury standpoint, but right now every Division I player in the country is dealing with something. Nobody's 100%, so everybody's dealing with the same issue. So I think it all evens out. It's kind of like officiating. It all evens out in the end.
I mean, with that being said, I guess do you still approach practice where you're going at it, you know, as hard as you possibly can, or you're trying to tone it back?
No, we tone it back. We go hard, but we shorten the length. Practice does not go as long. You know, days in between a game, in between, you know, you play on a Saturday and then a Monday. That day in between is not as long and hard as it was a month and a half, 2 months ago. Because right now you should know who you are as a team and what you're trying to accomplish. So, you know, you don't have to spend quite as much time doing those things. It's more of a mental exercise preparing for opponents.
Just a little bit on Mariah. She's had a fabulous year. Just one of those nights for her. Is that
I believe so. I mean, just struggled. I think they did a great job early on her, defending her, and I think maybe she started pressing a little bit. You know, I haven't had a conversation with her about that yet, but, you know, it's just one of those things. You've got to look at her body of work and how consistent she's been and know that she'll be there the next game. She's going to make shots, but it does make it difficult for this team if anybody does not fulfill their role and their purpose for the team. It makes it difficult, especially a great scorer like her going 1 for 12 from the field, and a lot of good looks. I mean, her 3-point shots, all of them were good looks. I don't think she took a bad shot. She passed up a couple, but I don't think she took a bad shot. And, you know, 1 of 8 from the 3-point line, I believe. So, you know, figure that she'll make shots on Saturday, and she'll make shots on Monday, and she'll make shots whenever our next game after that is.
just something about the 2 freshman starters. They both, I thought, had outstanding.
Yeah, they did. I mean, you combined for, one of them has 29 points and the other has 12 points and 9 rebounds. They combined for 41 points and 14 rebounds between the 2 of them. They're doing a great job getting better every game. I think Sisk really has a chance to be a special player by the time it's all said and done, and I think Kelsey does as well. It could be a great combination for a lot of years to have a point guard like that can score with a post player. And one thing that people haven't seen as much of is Erica Sisk has really good court vision, and she'll find the open player, especially in the transition situations. Really pleased with her progress.
Whenever I interviewed one of your players, they always mentioned one of the reasons they came here was because of the family atmosphere. And they also make a point of saying that, you practice what you preach, that after they are here, that you really emphasize the importance of family and academics. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you think that plays in?
Well, I'm glad they feel that way. To me, there's nothing more important. I mean, you look at our team right now, we have 2 young ladies that have come all the way around the world. Bianca Babbage and Ashley McBean are from Australia. And, as a parent, someone who has a child myself, I take it very, very seriously, that we're bringing them into an atmosphere where they feel like they have a family away from their family at home. And that goes for somebody who's, whether they're from Murray, Kentucky or Melbourne, Australia, it really doesn't matter to me. The importance is that while you're here, you have a support system, and that the basketball part of it, whatever happens on the basketball court, that's such a small part of what we do. The academics is the most important thing, and being there for them as people is the most important thing to me. So, you could be awful on the basketball court, or just be not be doing what you're supposed to do on the basketball court, that's not going to affect how we're going to treat you as a person off the court. And, you know, the second practice ends or the second a game ends, I pride myself on trying to be even-keeled and the same every day that I walk in to the arena. So, you know, they know that, hey, they can come talk to me right after a loss, and maybe it's a tough loss and I'm not in a good mood about the loss, but a student athlete can walk in and say, Coach, I need to talk to you for a second. And it's going to be just like right after a win, or just like the day before a game, or, you know, the middle of July. And that means a lot to me from a player's perspective for their sanity and their well-being.